The Detroit Tigers are going to the ALDS.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen. Every single day, we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. Bang, bang. That was unbelievable. The Detroit Tigers beat the Houston Astros 5-2 in Minute Maid and advance to the ALDS for the first time since 2014. They win a playoff series for the first time since 2013. Absolutely unbelievable. The Detroit Tigers just ended a 7 consecutive year ALCS trip for the Houston Astros. They have made the ALCS every season since 2017. You know how much the world has changed since 2017? I have to take these off. 7 years. And your Detroit Tigers went into Minute Maid with one starting pitcher and swept them in 2 games. That was the stage that was set. Detroit Tigers, one player on their entire roster, wildcard roster, with playoff experience. Houston Astros, the most playoff experienced roster out there, and 7 consecutive ALCS appearances. 2 titles. Sweep. I don't know if you can call a 3-game series a sweep. It was 2 games. I don't really know what the verbiage is anymore. Don't care. 2 games, Tigers won both, had one starting pitcher, and go to the ALDS to play Cleveland. Unbelievable. Full disclosure, I had to take, it's 7. The game ended a minute ago, is my point. I had to calm down. I had to really if I'm already scatterbrained, as you can probably already tell, only 3 minutes into this thing. If I came on here immediately following the game, I genuinely think this episode would be gibberish. I don't think it would be comprehensible to anybody at all. That was amazing. And the show goes on. The Detroit Tigers live to fight at least 3 more games, and they will advance to the ALDS. Let's talk about what went right in this game. We don't bury the lead here, okay? I am a journalist. I do write for the Detroit News. We're not going to play journalist games here. We're not going to mess around. Andy Ibanez is the king of Detroit for a little bit. He knows his role, man. And that's just what is so awesome about everybody on this team, right? And people, man, I listened to one, it was like a voice memo thing or whatever on Twitter. And it was just some guy that was complaining about how he doesn't like when bad teams do well and the Tigers roster is awful. That's just a complete lack of comprehension of what has made this team good. And that is everybody filling a role, right? Andy Ibanez's season numbers don't look good. His numbers against lefties are insanely good. That is the only situation he finds himself in. Obviously, the numbers get brought down a little bit because he has had a few ABs against righties here and there, but he knows his role. His role is you're going to sit on the bench most days, and when they bring in a lefty reliever, you're the first call. And he comes through time and time and time again. That triple that he hit will live in Tigers lore for a very, very long time. Even if the Tigers do not win the final game, right? Even if they get eliminated in the ALDS, even if they can't get through Cleveland, that triple to clear the bases with Torkelson and Vierling and Colt Keith all yelling at each other at home plate, that swing will live in infamy. It'll live in Tigers lore for a very, very long time. That's $19 million on the mound a year. It's one of the highest paid closers to ever live. Andy Ibanez was picked up off waivers last season and has earned his spot time and time and time again. I remember when he got picked up off waivers. And I remember saying on this show, like, Scott Harris is just a fiend. He's just adding people on waivers left and right. He Andy Ibanez probably doesn't make it through the season, whatever. And he just got the biggest hit in possibly the last 10 years of Tigers baseball. Because he knows his role, he knows his job, and he does it unbelievably well. Jason Benetti tweeted out, a team full of specialists. You can complain about the Tigers not being a good roster all you want. Everybody on that roster has a job, and they do it well. And that is why the Tigers are here more than anything else. That is why he trusts Andy Ibanez in those situations against left-handed pitchers. Even the last few weeks, like when he was sliding, right? We were like, oh man, the numbers are going down and down. They're slowly sliding. AJ Hinch sticks to his guns. He knows that if a lefty reliever is up, his first call 10 times out of 10 is going to be Andy Ibanez. And that faith just won you a playoff series for the first time in 11 years. The setup to that at-bat was also absolutely phenomenal. I want to give credit to everybody else so that's not lost in the triple itself. Carperson, wow, just combined like three different Tigers there. Kerry Carpenter goes first to third on a Matt Vierling single. Ended up being a huge play because then a wild pitch happens. He doesn't score on that wild pitch if he does not go first to third. So aggressive base running yet again. Do not want that to get lost. Minor detail, but an important one. Colt Keith walk, Spencer Torkelson walk. Two great ABs. The Colt Keith at bat, he got a hanging curveball, swung through it. I was like, man, that really sucks. You really want that one back. Still gets a productive AB out of that, and I think that's amazing. Spencer Torkelson, same thing. Fantastic AB to draw a walk there, and that sets up the Andy Ibanez heroics. This offense as a whole, Hunter Brown dominated. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. He was ridiculously good in this game. And I do not want that to get lost amongst this fan base. I want to give him the credit that he very much deserves. He was freaking phenomenal. But every single Tiger in the lineup that took a single plate appearance in this game, all the pinch hitters included, got on base at least once. Consistently applying pressure and eventually break through. They went 1 for 7 with RISP. Not great. But if you keep applying pressure, eventually the valve is going to burst. And I'll be darned if that is not what this team has done all second half. Are they a good offense? No. But they continuously apply pressure and do just enough to let the really good pitching take the baton and take them home. And I think that's one of the coolest parts of this series, right? Not only is this just an awesome moment and an awesome series win, they stuck true to themselves. They won these two games exactly how they have won every single game they have won since August 10th. And since then, they are the best team in baseball record-wise. They stuck to their guns. They know how they win games. It is truly a team identity, a team effort. And they stuck true to that and just took down the Goliath of the American League over the last 7 years in their own home. Unreal. Let's keep the ball rolling, baby. Got a lot more to talk about still. We will do that right after this. Got to talk to you about our friends over at booking.com, booking.yeah. You want to explore all those U.S. cities you secretly wanted to learn more about, other baseball cities, even your rival cities. They have hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on booking.com. You might find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city during the postseason. And it's funny that booking.com brings that up because your Detroit Tigers are going to play one of their biggest rivals, if not straight up their biggest rival, in the Cleveland Guardians in the ALDS. Cleveland, for as much as, smack talk as we're about to talk to them, is a beautiful place to go catch a ball game, beautiful town. And I love going there, love going to Progressive. Is that even still what it's called? To go watch a ball game. And you can do that and cheer on your Tigers on the road over at booking.com. They have the right stay for every U.S. city, genuinely. And the right stay for you can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com, booking.yeah. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow previewing the American League Divisional Series that your Detroit Tigers are a part of. Unbelievable stuff. So I think another key point here is punching back immediately after losing the lead. And that's a fairly obvious thing. But I don't want that to get lost in this either. I think that the attitude of this team is next gen, and this sounds super corny, and like every team ever has said this, but it genuinely is like next man up. Pick up a pitcher that gives up a lead, right? A rookie. We'll talk about that later. Like to be able to have the mental strength and the mental capacity to get punched in the mouth on the road against a team that is again phenomenal in the Houston Astros to go and immediately return fire and counter strike a half inning after giving up the lead that late in the ball game against a good bullpen is awesome stuff. Parker Meadows, Superman in the postseason, baby. Absolutely crushes a home run to right field, hits off the foul pole. Made a great play in center field as well in the ninth inning to help seal the victory. I am honored, and it is a privilege to, as a fan base, share Parker Meadows with the world. This is a guy that people look at his base stats and they go, wow, he's hitting like 215 and has a 6-something OPS. This guy blows. And then you realize what his numbers have been since being recalled from the minors and how much value he brings defensively and on the base paths. And anybody who genuinely knows and follows the game of baseball very quickly realizes, watching the Detroit Tigers, how valuable that man is to this team. So seeing him go yard in the postseason, first Tigers playoff homer in who knows how long, man. Just absolutely awesome to share him with the rest of the baseball world, and hopefully his name will get bigger and bigger going into next season. Phenomenal bullpen day, as we have gotten very used to saying over the last couple of months. So no Reese Olson for starters. ABC and other people had mentioned that Reese Olson was going to be the starter or the bulk reliever. That obviously ended up not happening. So ignore what I said at the end of yesterday's show when we talked about the potential of Reese Olson starting. But this was an AJ Hinch masterclass, man. This was Tyler Holton being Tyler Holton, top of the lineup. AJ manages games like it's a race to 27 outs. And that's something that a lot of people, that's not my brainchild, that a lot of very smart people have pointed that out, multiple. And it's so true. Like, he is trying to get to 27 outs quicker than you. And so Tyler Holton opening this ball game, that is a lefty, and their two best hitters are lefties, right? Tucker and Alvarez are second and third in the lineup. So he's going to throw Tyler Holton out there. There's two ABs that those two guys will not have immediately off rip. Best lefty reliever the Tigers have, gets him out like he's done so many times before. And then, we'll worry about the other three ABs when we get there. Hannafy, sinker machine. He really is Jason Foley light. Like, this guy just throws a bowling ball, 95-mile-an-hour sinker, and no one can lift the baseball against him. And it's beautiful to watch. Brant Herter, little bit sporadic with command there, but at the end of the day, went over an inning and still had 0 earned runs against. Bo Brisky stays hot. The thing that's been amazing about Brisky is that he's been effective against righties and lefties because of how good his changeup is. So that continues to be an awesome revelation here late in the season. Sean Gunther, incredible yet again. He has been unbelievable over the last month and a half. And then Will Vest. I want to ask this genuinely. If AJ came out tomorrow and said, Will Vest is going to be the closer the rest of the postseason, would anybody be mad? Based on what you have seen, honestly, and this is like a weird arbitrary date, but it is something I've recognized. He has been unreal since the birth of his second child. And I know, again, that's like a weird thing to point out, but he left on paternity. And when he came back, he immediately started looking like prime Mariano Rivera, and he has not turned back since. His fastball has not allowed a home run all season. He went all 2024 regular season without giving up a home run against his fastball. That has been, AJ Hinch called it an FU pitch in media availability today. It has been a phenomenal 98, 99, 100 mile an hour pitch. And he is just pitching with some moxie, man. He looks like it's all on the table, to keep it PG. Like that is what the vibe that he is giving off. It's, you know what? Here's my fastball. You hit it. Good for you. A lot of spitting on the mound, just an absolute dog mentality. And he has been, I think, the Tigers' best reliever so far in the 2 games into the postseason that they are. And you know what's beautiful about me saying that is they're only 2 games in implies that there's more games left. Because there is. I don't know if you've heard, but the Tigers just made the ALDS and they won a playoff series. I'm not sure if you're aware. Unreal stuff. What went wrong in this game? It was not all sunshine and rainbows. We're going to talk about Jackson Jobe here and then get to a break, because I think this was probably the biggest issue, the biggest complaint I saw from this ball game from Tigers fandom. So Jackson Jobe goes 1/3 of an inning, only records 1 out, gives up 2 hits, 2 earned runs, the only 2 earned runs the Tigers gave up in the game. 0 walks, 0 strikeouts. I want to start this conversation with this, and I really need you to hear me before I get into the rest of my rambling here, okay? The command was definitely not pinpoint. I am openly starting this conversation with that. So if you get mad at what I'm about to say and you completely disagree with it, I'm going to steer you back to the beginning of this conversation where I remind you that I said this. The command was far from pinpoint. Okay? Great. Glad we got that out of the way. The command was not very good. That all being said, the hit by pitch, sure. That's first pitch out of the pen. You can blame nerves. I'm not Jackson Jobe. I'm not going to pretend that I know what he was feeling in that moment, but I know that a lot of baseball fans are immediately going to go, nerves. Look, guy with 4 major league innings just hit somebody immediately out of the pen. Great. After that, blooper off the hands that had like a 70 mile an hour exit velocity, right? Correctly executed pitch, weak contact, just found outfield grass. Bunt that Zach McKinstry couldn't get to and get the runner out. Fielder's choice that Torkelson spiked into the ground and Jake Rogers couldn't catch. Soft infield grounder to first base. And then a shallow fly out to right field that, if Matt Vierling is awake, is not a sacrifice fly. Those were the 5 plate appearances he went up against. Hit by pitch, blooper off the hands, bunt, ground out to first that was a fielder's choice and resulted in 0 outs against, and a sac fly that really shouldn't have even been a sac fly. I understand that even after I lay that out, there's going to be people that are like, I hear you, but I still would not have gone to the dude with 4 career innings pitched in high leverage in that moment. Fine, right? If that's how you view the great game of baseball, then we have nothing else to talk about. I have nothing else I can add on, and that's okay. I'm not saying that we just view it differently. That's fine. That's the beautiful part of baseball. That's a good thing. But it's also not like you have a ton of experience on the roster to actually go to either. And I want to make that point. Matt Vierling is the only player with playoff experience on the entire wild card roster. That means that 0 pitchers on the Tigers wild card roster have playoff experience. And the oldest dude on the entire roster, period, is like under 30. He's like 28 or 29 years old. And they didn't hit him hard at all. None of those were hit hard. He did not get rocked. I saw somebody say that on the timeline. They're like, oh, he got absolutely lit up. No, he did not. That is a lie. We can disagree on the decision to go to him. Saying that he got lit up is objectively not true. He did not. It was all weak contact, and it just didn't go his way. So he didn't get rocked, and I fully expect the Tigers to go to him in high leverage again in the ALDS, and I have zero issue with that. And if he does actually get rocked, if he does get pummeled, then he's got to face the music, right? And that actually will be a different conversation, and we can talk about how wrong I was if you want to, and that's fine. But now that he's got his feet wet, the Tigers still won the game. Let's lock in, baby, and prepare for the ALDS, because he's not going anywhere. They're not kicking him off the ALDS roster. He's going to be here, and I think he deserves it. That's some of the best stuff in the organization, and I really don't think he looked poorly. And if you need a reminder, he didn't look super sharp. The command was not great. Okay. Got a few more things to talk about on what went wrong, and then we'll get into stuff. Okay. We will do that right after this. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. See, when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Also got to talk to you all about our friends over at Prize Picks. It's the best place to get real money on sports action with over 10 million members and over billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made the daily fantasy sports accessible to everybody. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with Prize Picks. They have so many great offers as well. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my pick hits, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. You can also win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. It is awesome. They also have injury insurance policy where if a player leaves in the first half of a game and doesn't return, your Prize Pick play is still intact. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly as you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every day. So what else went wrong in this game? The offense against Hunter Brown, and I want to give him a ton of credit. This was not a Tigers offensive ineptitude as much as it was he was executing everything, man. He was hitting every spot. The catcher barely had to move his glove the entire game. His stuff is disgusting. That's 99 with a big loopy curveball, a really good changeup, a great cutter. He was phenomenal, man. I really, and I can say this with a lot lighter shoulders because the Tigers won, and I fully understand that I can say that with much lighter shoulders because the Tigers won. But I am not too upset at this lineup not being able to hit what he was offering, man. He was locked the heck in. And it was, they didn't have very many opportunities to do damage. It was all paint. It was all nasty stuff. I thought he was fantastic. Even the Parker Meadows homer, that's a cutter 94 up and in. Just happened to get on top or get under it, I guess. The Torkelson and Jake Rogers tandem on that play we mentioned earlier in the Jackson Jobe inning was atrocious. It was not well executed. But the thing that made me more upset than anything was the Matt Vierling play. I was more upset with the Vierling I don't know, casualness. Like, you have to come up firing there. What are we not coming up firing there for? That there's no way that should have been a sack fly. There's no way. And I'm not trying to just like pick on Vierling, but like that is one run that was huge in this ball game at the time. And there's zero reason that he should not have come up absolutely firing, right? Crow hop and ready to throw to home. And instead it was like hesitated and then like didn't get everything behind it. You got to be ready to gun. And I think maybe he was just surprised that he went. Mistakes happen. I get it. In that moment, you got to prepare for anything. It's bases loaded. Like, you're not throwing to any other base. Get ready and fire home, man. You gotta. There's zero reason, because of the fact that it was bases loaded. Literally zero reason for him to not come up and treat that ball way better. And I think that he would tell you that. We know that he's like the clubhouse leader. I have a lot of respect for Matt Vierling. Again, not trying to be disrespectful about it at all, ever. These are the players at the end of the day. They're the ones that have the tough job. It's just in that moment, that is something that can't happen. The top of the ninth was also a complete disaster. You had the bad bunt by Meadows, then you had the bad steal by Meadows. Both, didn't erase the other things that he did well in this game, but we're not good, and we're gonna point out mistakes just as much as we're gonna praise good things that happen here. And you really could have used some insurance, man. It was a 3-run game. The difference between a 3 and 4-run game is massive. That's the difference between one swing being able to win the game for the Astros and one swing only sending it to extras. Really, really big missed opportunity then in the ninth. And then ultimately just like the RISP again. And we've talked a lot about that already, so we don't have to spend too much more time on it. But this team was 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position going into the Andy Ibanez plate appearance. And thank goodness he came in and saved the day like the superhero that he is. Let's talk stuff. I just keep thinking of AJ throughout this run, man. And like this was his former team in Houston. And I think he managed circles around Houston. I really did. I think he managed this whole series incredibly well. The Job decision, again, we kind of already alluded to that. I don't think he's going to have any fear to go back to him. There was no hard contact given up there. And really, ultimately, even if after I've said all this, you're like, this kid's dumb and AJ made the wrong decision, and I'm standing by that. Again, that's beautiful. That's fine. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But this entire run has been giving young, inexperienced players big opportunities and having them come through in those moments. Not going to change now, man. And because that's what's got him this far. Every single button he pushed in this game outside of that, I think, was a home run. No pun intended. Andy Ibanez, Justin Henry Malloy came in late, got a hit. The bullpen day, again, sans Job, even if you want to. Everything else was fantastic. The handling of Kyle Tucker, and Yordan Alvarez throughout this series should be studied in textbooks for years to come. He knew that they were the two best hitters. He knew what they were capable of, and that is where he was going to have to avoid damage. And he treated them like they were prime Barry Bonds, and both of them were completely ineffective the entire series. All incredible, and he ended his interview on the way out with, he is forever grateful to be a Tiger. And golly, I know he still doesn't have fans out there because of, his past and whatnot. I am forever grateful that he is a Tiger too. I think this run is not entirely, because the players still play the game at the end of the day, and you got to give the respect to the roster. But I think this run is as much to do with AJ Hinch as anything else. So fun stats were flying around. Josh Hader makes more than the entire Tigers wildcard roster combined by about $200,000. That's always fun, man. Always fun when David takes down Goliath there. The reaction from the boys after the Andy Ibanez triple was unbelievable. Torkelson, Vierling, Colt Keith, just their reaction in that moment. Colt Keith is screaming to Matt Vierling when he crosses home plate. Then they turn around and Torkelson gets fired up. Just awesome, man. And all of that has led us to the beautiful fact that a playoff game will be played in Comerica Park for the first time in 10 years, man. I need to not cry every single episode, so we're going to hold it together here, I hope. Maybe some famous final words, but that's going to be awesome. Wednesday, for those who are trying to find a way to get to the game or be downtown or something, it's going to be Wednesday's game will be in Comerica Park. And you face Cleveland. We're going to do a whole series preview on tomorrow's show, so don't you worry. Tigers are off on Thursday and Friday. Game 1 will be on Saturday, so we'll get you set up with a series preview tomorrow, just like we did with the Astros series here. But unbelievable stuff, man. I have no clue how we're here. It's absolutely incredible. It's a team first thing. It's an AJ Hinch thing. It's a front office thing. It's all of the players deserve just so much credit for just buying into this philosophy. Like, you know how much you have to put your ego aside to really buy all in and trust 25 other guys besides you to get the job done in all those situations when you've been the best team on most of your teams for your whole life. Like, these are all young players that have just completely bought into what AJ is preaching. What a run. And for the first time in 10 years, there will be a playoff game at Comerica Park. The last time there was a playoff game at Comerica Park, I remember coming home from school. I believe I took the bus because I literally hadn't passed driver's ed yet. No, I was probably driving by then. Maybe I just started driving. Like, just started driving. And I remember coming home to watch the game immediately after school and obviously losing to Baltimore and then having to worry about, like, geometry the next day. 10 years. Comerica Park, man. Playoff baseball is back in the city of Detroit. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow with a full series preview for you heading into the weekend. I appreciate you all so much. The reception of this show over the last, well, this entire run, really, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, but really over the last month and a half, has been unbelievable. And I appreciate you all so greatly. So, we're all in this together. See you tomorrow to preview the American League Division Series. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all Friday, baby. Go Tigers.